Today I'm going to share with you my inside out bag. So this is a really great bag that you can tailor to exactly your needs in terms of what you're going to be carrying, how you're going to be styling it. This bag can be made reversible. It has lots of pockets and it has 2 strap options. So you can make it exactly how you want it. There are 2 sizes. This is the smaller size. This is the larger size. This one's more like a pocketbook. This one's more like a tote bag. The other options that you have are to make this a reversible bag. This bag is not reversible. I've made it more structured with a heavy interfacing. Okay, pretty heavy interfacing on the inside there. And then I stitched along these corners here to give it more structure. This version is reversible. So I put in a lighter interfacing. I did not do those corner stitches, and it's super easy for me just to flip this inside out, and then I've got another color option. Okay, another option on this is the straps. So you can do a crossbody strap like this that attaches to the side seams, or you can do your shoulder straps. Right? And finally, the pocket options. Now, there are 3 pockets on here. 1, 2, and 3. And then in the instructions, I give you suggestions for how to divide up the sections. But again, you can tailor it to what you're going to be carrying, what your storage needs are. This is a great size for a cell phone. This might be good for a book. Then we've got these 3 kind of vertical pockets here that could be good for pens, hairbrushes, combs. And we've got a bigger pocket here and a small one here, great for credit cards, a little bit of cash, that kind of thing. So this is a really great bag that you can tailor to exactly your needs in terms of what you're going to be carrying, how you're going to be styling it.
You can find this and my other patterns on my Atelier Joy Etsy shop linked below. Okay, so here are the pieces included in the pattern. You've got your body piece. There are 2 different ones depending on whether you're making the small or the large bag. Okay, so you've got your body piece, you've got your large pocket, your medium pocket, your small pocket. Then you've got your shoulder strap and you've got your bottom insert. And again, depending on whether you're making the small or the large bag, you will cut out the small insert or the large insert. And finally, you've got your optional crossbody strap. And since this pattern is all straight lines, I do recommend using a rotary cutter and mat if you've got that, just so you can get everything nice and clean. I did use scissors on the little cutout at the bottom corner of the main body. And here's the fabric that we've cut out. We've got our main body of the bag in exterior, interior, and interfacing, 2 of each. Then you've got your pockets, big, medium, small. You're going to have 4 fabric of the large, 2 interfacing of the large, 2 fabric of the medium, 1 interfacing of the medium, and 2 fabric of the small and 1 interfacing of the small. And finally, 2 of the straps in your exterior fabric and 2 of the bottom insert in your interior fabric. After you've cut out all the fabric and interfacing, it's time to apply the interfacing using your iron. Follow whatever directions there are on the interfacing. I used a hot, dry iron. The first sewing step is to assemble your pockets. So for each pocket, you're going to have one side that has the interfacing on it and one side that does not. Here I'm stitching one of the large pockets. So you want to put the right sides together and you're going to stitch almost all the way around. You're just going to leave about a 5-inch opening on one of the long sides so that you can turn it right side out. Once you finish sewing, you're going to clip those corners to eliminate bulk in the corners, and then you turn it right side out just by hand at first, and then once you've got it mostly out, you can use a closed pair of scissors to make those corners nice and crisp, gently. At the opening where you turn the pocket, you want to gently press that in to match up with the rest of the seam, and then press all the edges, including that opening, with your iron. Now we're going to top stitch the top edge of the pocket, so decide what your top edge is going to be. If you have a one-way print, a directional print, then you need to be mindful of that when you decide what your top edge is going to be. Now you're going to take your small pocket and apply it on top of one of the large pockets. So the way you start that is by finding the center of both the small and the large. And then you want to go 1.5 inches up from the bottom of the large one and place your small pocket there. Make sure everything is squared up, that it's all straight across. Pin on the sides and the bottom, and then you're going to top stitch that small pocket onto the large pocket. And make sure you back stitch at the beginning and end so that your pocket is really sturdy. And you're going to leave the top open, of course, so that you can access the pocket. As you proceed with the pockets, please note that where the cutouts are on the main body, that's the bottom of the bag. Okay, so we're applying this double pocket onto one of the lining main body bag pieces. And you want to center it and put it 3 inches above the bottom of the body. Pin it in place, and you're going to be stitching again around the sides and the bottom, but you leave the top open. So I just for efficiency, I went ahead and pinned all the pockets in place before stitching them. So this next one is a medium size pocket, and we're putting it 3.5 inches above the bottom of the bag and centering it in the lining again. Pin it on the sides and the bottom. And then we're going to be doing 2 vertical stitches 4 inches from the sides on this one. So go ahead and mark that with tailor's chalk, and you'll be stitching those. Then we're going to apply another large pocket on the exterior main body. Again, you're centering it. You're putting it 3 inches above the bottom. And for this one, it's got 1 vertical seam, so it divides it into 2 pockets. And I suggest putting the line of stitching 5 inches from one side, and that's a good size to put a phone in. Of course, if you have specific things that you're looking to store in these pockets, by all means make them the size that you need for your own stuff. We're going to top stitch along the sides and the bottom, leaving the top open. And then wherever we've marked the vertical stitches, go ahead and do those stitches. So now we've got all of our pockets applied. We've got 1 lining with the large and small attached pockets, 1 lining with a medium pocket with 2 vertical seams, 1 exterior with a large pocket with 1 vertical seam, making 2 pockets. And then finally 1 exterior body with no pockets on it. Okay, it's time to assemble the body of the bag. So you're going to take your exterior body pieces and lay them right sides together and pin along the sides and the bottom. And then you want to stitch with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. This is the only time when we're switching up the seam allowance. Up to this point and afterwards, it's 3/8 of an inch. But for the body exterior and the body lining, it's a 1/2 inch seam allowance. So you're going to stitch all the way down one side. Make sure you backstitch at the top and the bottom. And then you're going to move on to the bottom of the bag. You can either just keep this same thread going, or you can snip it and start a new thread. So one difference between the interior and the exterior bodies. On the interior, the lining, you want to do what I'm doing in the video right here, which is to leave an opening of about 7 inches at the bottom. That's going to be where you turn the bag right side out. So for the exterior, the main body of the bag, you stitch that whole bottom seam in one complete seam. But for the interior, you're going to leave it open like I just showed you with that 7 inch opening for turning. And then finally stitch up that other side, making sure you backstitch at the top and the bottom. Now you want to press those seams open. I like to take the bag and put it over the end of my ironing board, or you can use a tailor's ham or a seam roll and just press that open on both sides. And then for the bottom of the bag, what I like to do is lay it flat, and then you're going to finger press one side over and press it, and then finger press, flip it over and finger press the other side and press it with your iron. Now it's time to make our pillow corners on the bottom of the bag. So what you're going to do is you're going to fold the bottom, press it down so that it matches up with the side seam. So you want to match up those seams. You've got your bottom seam and your side seam. You're matching those up, and then the corners should just lay flat like that. So then you can press it, pin it all the way across. Make sure you pin your seam allowance open so that it doesn't get caught and get bulky. So do that for both corners on the exterior and on the interior, the lining. Now you're going to stitch that pillow corner with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Okay, moving on to our shoulder straps. You're going to take each shoulder strap and fold it in half lengthwise, and then turn it in 5/8 of an inch towards that center crease. So you should have this nicely folded strap with the raw edges sandwiched in the middle. So you do that for both shoulder straps. And then you're going to top stitch as close as you can to the edge on both sides of that strap, and then do the other strap the same way. Okay, so we've got our beautiful pillow corners. We are going to turn the exterior bag right side out and push those pillow corners out so they're nice and crisp. And now we're going to place our shoulder straps in place. So what you want to do is measure out 4.5 inches from the center of the bag. There are notches on the pattern, but sometimes I lose those notches when I apply the fusible interfacing. So If you want to just measure out, you measure out 4.5 inches from the center of the bag, and make sure that your strap doesn't get twisted, and then pin the other side in place too. So you want to line up your raw edges of your strap with the raw edges of the top of the bag. And do that for the other strap on the other side as well. Now you're going to machine baste those straps in place. Use a long stitch and try to stitch as close to the top edge as you can. We're ready to attach our main bag lining to our main bag exterior. So what you're going to do is leave your exterior right side out and leave your interior wrong side out. And then you're going to lower that exterior bag into the interior bag, into the lining. It's going to kind of nest inside there. You want to match up your side seams, pin those side seams flat, and match up your center notches and just pin all the way around the top edge. Make sure that the straps are facing downward. You don't want to get them caught up in this seam. All right, we're going to be stitching through a lot of layers here. So go ahead and lengthen your stitch. And you might want to also remove part of your sewing machine base if that's an option on a machine, because we're going to be sliding the bag over the side. And now you're going to stitch all the way around the top of the bag with a 3/8 inch seam allowance, just like you've done for most of the steps. And be careful that the seam allowances on the side are flat as you stitch. Okay, it's time to turn this bag right side out. So you're going to go through that opening in the lining at the bottom and pull the exterior bag out. Go slowly so you don't split any seams. It does take some muscling, but you'll get there. I definitely had a workout turning mine right side out. Whew. So now we need to take care of closing up that opening in the bottom seam of the lining. So just pin that closed with the seam allowances inside, and then you've got an option. You can either top stitch as close to that edge as you can using your machine, or if you wanted to do it by hand, you could slip stitch it, and those seams would just butt up right against each other in a really nice way. But most of the time this seam is not going to be visible to anyone, so I just went ahead and top stitched it close to the edge. Okay, we've closed up our lining. We're ready to tuck that lining down inside the bag. So just push it on down in there, match up those corners, and then you can start finger pressing around the top of the bag. I really liked working with this linen fabric because I didn't even have to press with my iron on this. It just kept that press once I finger pressed. But you may need to use your iron a little bit more to get this in place. You don't want the interior or the lining to be showing on the exterior, so make sure that's tucked in nicely. And again, you might want to remove that part of your sewing machine base so you can slide your bag over. We're going to top stitch this um, uh, close to the edge, 1/4 of an inch from the edge, or 3/8 of an inch from the edge. Make sure that as you go, you have the straps up. Okay, we can see the bag really taking shape now. To give it a little bit more structure, we're going to pinch along those sides up from the pillow corners all the way up to the top edge and pin it in place, and then we're going to stitch that vertically. That's going to give it some really nice structure. Now, if you're making this bag as a reversible bag, you probably wouldn't do this step. This step means that, okay, this exterior fabric is going to stay on the outside. But I really like the way it gives this bag some structure. So just make sure that as you're pinning, the pin line is parallel to that seam line along the side so that you get a nice straight up and down stitch. And then I top stitched about 1/4 of an inch from the edge. Make sure you back stitch at the beginning and end as well. And you're going to do that 4 times. All right, one more feature that makes this bag really sturdy is that it's got a bottom insert with this plastic mesh. You can find this at craft stores. I remember when I was young, we used to use it for Kleenex boxes. Anywho, you're going to cut this to the appropriate size. It says in the pattern the dimensions that you need. And then you're going to take your bottom insert cover, the fabric, and pin those 2 pieces right sides together. You're going to be stitching along the 2 long sides and 1 short side. And then you're going to leave 1 short side open so that you can turn it right side out and slide the plastic insert in. Make sure you plant your needle and pivot when you get to those corners. Clip those corners to eliminate bulk. And then you're going to use your hands to turn that cover right side out. At the end, you can use a closed pair of scissors to gently push those corners out. Then you're going to press and slide that plastic insert into that sleeve. And you can just tuck that open edge in. Make sure that the sides are matching up and give it a press. And then top stitch close to that edge. You can place that insert into the bottom, and now you've got a nice stable base for your bag. Please like and subscribe. I'll be adding more tutorials on a regular basis.